Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, one of your many sources for online movie news on YouTube. I know, I should just say your number one source, because goddammit, I hope I'm your number one source, but I'm not that egotistical. But that being said, I do want to talk today about this interesting topic that came across yesterday, which was DC Films willing to produce R-rated films. Now, after the success of Logan and last year's success of Deadpool, and let's not forget that year before that, the success of Kingsman: The Secret Service, which did go on to become one of the highest grossing R-rated comic book movies and R-rated movies of all time. For some reason, when it comes to the whole discussion of Logan and Deadpool being R-rated and making money, everyone seems to leave out Kingsman. Now, Kingsman is not a superhero movie. It is a spoof on the gentleman's spy genre, but they both, or all three, were distributed through 20th Century Fox. All three did absolute gangbusters in terms of financial returns. I mean, Christ, Kingsman has a sequel coming out this summer that no one is fucking talking about, and that's unfortunate. But that being said, I get it that they want to focus on superhero movies, and Kingsman doesn't necessarily fit that mold, even though I disagree. Anyway, it says here that with the commercial and critical success of both Deadpool and Logan, it sure looks like the studios are looking into bringing more R-rated comic book films to the big screen. Sure, they have existed long before these two films, but with audiences hungrier to see more grown-up stories featuring these characters, the prospect of more types of these films is incredibly enticing, especially for DC films. According to The Wrap, an insider from Warner Brothers and DC Films has confirmed that the studio is willing to produce R-rated films, saying 100% yes, with the right characters, which is anyone involving a Batman character. Let's just be fair there. All right, Batman R-rated makes dicks hard, and also vagina's wet, and uterus is ovulating. Let's just be fair. That's just the truth. A good R-rated Batman movie would make $1 billion. I'm just pulling that number out of my ass. I literally have no idea, but I think it would happen. I really do feel that a good, well-directed, well-made, like Christopher Nolan R-rated movie would do well. So it goes on to cover the films that were already released by Warner's: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Suicide Squad, with the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman clocking in at 3 hours long and was rated R. Yes, it was rated R, predominantly for the fight scene involving Batman in the warehouse. It was pretty fucking violent, as well as a couple scenes involving KG Beast, so on and so forth. And I will say this, the extended cut of Batman v Superman is amazing. I fucking adore that cut. And I am so mad that's not what was in theaters. And Warner Brothers made a huge mistake by cutting that thing down. And I've talked about that multiple times, and every time it comes up, I'm probably going to say it again. But it says here, at the moment, DC is in need of a critical hit, as all three of their films so far have done well at the box office, but critical and audience reception to the films have been lukewarm at best. See, that's a line I kind of disagree with, because while, Man of Steel did very well, I don't know anyone outside of a few chuckle fucks on YouTube and Twitter that don't like the movie. Even some of the more strident Superman fans have come back to it later on and been like, I didn't really care for all the deconstruction, but ultimately, yeah, it was a good Superman movie. Batman v Superman, again, people who have seen the extended cut really, really, really liked it. It was just the fact that, in Suicide Squad, either you love it or you don't. That's kind of what it boils down to. I like it personally. I really enjoyed it personally. But I can see why people don't like it. I can see why people don't like all three of those movies. I get it. But the thing is Rotten Tomatoes scores aren't everything, and people put way too much pressure on that. And that's actually kind of a side series I've wanted to do for a bit, is like to go and examine Rotten Tomatoes scores to get an idea for kind of like what it is that made them, either fresh or rotten or whatever, because I feel like the summaries on those movies don't always give you the best, because it's an aggregate. It's not meant to be taken at anything less or anything more than face value. But it does say here, hopefully if recent reports about Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman are to be believed, the DC Extended Universe will be having a more optimistic year compared to 2016. And what that is referring to are reports of some journalists that got to go to the editing bay of the movie, and they came out pretty optimistic, similar to how when journalists last year got to go to the Justice League shoot and came out talking about what they had seen and how great it was. It's very similar to that. But speaking of Wonder Woman, there was an update that kind of came out around the same time as this article. They're not connected ultimately, but it was Wonder Woman might have a R-rated director's cut new international promo. Okay, this was an article that ran out yesterday on Comic Book Movie. So when I first heard about DC willing to produce R-rated films and I saw this article, I was like, oh shit, son, it's happening. First, we got the R-rated extended cut of Batman v Superman. Now we're going to get the R-rated cut of fucking Wonder Woman. How violent is Wonder Woman? I mean, granted, the World War I is a completely violent time. But the whole update to this is just that, as it turns out, the rating is referring to the re-release of the 2009 Wonder Woman animated film. That's all it was. So no, there's no R-rated cut. I wanted to add that in here to showcase just how quickly some of this stuff spreads. But anyway, to kind of wrap up the whole idea of R-rated DC films, they need to do it. And they might actually be better served by crafting two versions of the film. You have the theatrical cut, which has a lot of the violence cut out, and you've got the extended cut, which has the violence left in, and that's for home video. Now, that is a very odd approach, and it's not one that I wholly support, but it's just an idea that I'm floating out there. I had this idea many years ago about, each version being released in theaters, even if it's like a one-night extended cut, the unrated version, so to speak, right? You have your theatrical, and then you give us, maybe after 7 p.m., right, you get the unrated cut. And I know that will never happen because of the way that the MPAA has a stranglehold on Hollywood. I know that's never going to happen, but it's something that I feel like could be used as a tester, right? To see how people react to it, to see how people respond to it. It's kind of like it's 9 p.m. time to put away the fucking puppets, that sort of thing. Like you have, the PG-13 version, playing in the morning, noon, and afternoon. And then you've got the extended R-rated cut happening in the evening time. And here's the thing. Ultimately, it's too confusing. People would fuck up. You'd have a gaggle of kids watching the PG-13 version, and the projectionist, probably an overworked assistant manager who gets paid just a little bit above minimum wage, would accidentally run the wrong cut, and that could really kind of be bad in terms of PR. So that won't ever go down. But it's something like that I do think needs to be explored, because people are ready for more gritty, hard-hitting comic book movies on the silver screen. Look at Watchmen, look at 300, look at Kingsman, look at Logan, look at Deadpool, right? They're Blade, for Christ's sake, the 3 Blade movies, right? There's tons of examples, and many of them have done very well. And I think that, people look to Marvel to do something like that because they want Marvel because being the biggest and the best at what they do. Marvel won't, because they want to homogenize everything because they need to appeal to the Chinese demographic. Whereas something like the Netflix shows can show that violence because it's cable television, technically. So DC has kind of got to lead the charge here. And like I said at the beginning of this, the only real character that could pull it off, I think, in the beginning would be a Batman movie. But I do want to know your thoughts. Which DC-related comic book movies would you like to, or comic book properties, would you like to see produced as R-rated films? Let me know in the comments below. Also, hey, to everyone here who's a new subscriber coming from the main channel, thank you so much for coming over to the 3 Buck Theater. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Be sure to thumbs up the video, comment below, subscribe if you're new, and check back often for more movie news and commentary from me. Talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.